This video is sponsored by Raycon. Raycon offers high quality sound at amazing prices. My everyday earbuds come along with me everywhere. The optimized gel tips are especially designed to fit snugly in your ears, so they're super comfortable and won't budge whether you're sleeping, running, or headbanging in them. I love using mine when I'm walking my dog. I'm usually listening to episodes of Dimension 20, and that always helps keep me walking longer. I'm never limited by their battery life since they have 8 hours of playtime and a 32-hour total battery life in the case. The audio quality is great and they're durable, built to handle rain or an accidental trip through the washing machine. I love that they pair easily. You only have to pair them once and then they'll auto pair for life. You can click the link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/moon to get 20% off your Raycon purchase plus free shipping.
Hello, hello, hello. I hope that you are doing very, very, very well tonight. I have here before us a platter of soft, smooth sand that I can trace in and play with. It's pleasantly cool to the touch, and the grains of sand are extremely fine, so it feels soft and luxurious to the touch, like an expensive fabric or something. And I can help it settle by shaking it like that to get it to a somewhat smooth state. But as you can observe, some subtle traces of my fingertips still remain. I have some orbs for us to play with on the sand. They look like this. I'll show you a few at a time so that you can get a better look. The first three are the three smallest. It sounds so beautiful. It's really relaxing. A nice, grounding, hands-on activity. So we have this yellow and beige one that to me looks like snakeskin, and I love that when it glides across the sand. I don't know if you've ever hiked on a trail where snakes are around, but they leave behind slithery tracks in the sand. This reminds me of that. When you let just the weight of the ball glide over the sand, it's a soft, gentle sound, sort of like the wind or ocean waves. But then when you press down a bit harder, cratered one. It looks quite planetary or aquatic. Some sort of pattern that might be found on some distant, faraway planet in space, or deep, deep beneath the depths of the ocean. Maybe on the back of some scaly sea creature. Or it could be bubbles. You can also sort of stamp it if you like. There's the green and charcoal geometric one with lots and lots of little triangles. It creates cubes in the sand. It's pretty cool. Bring it all the way to the edge. And then I'll put all three of those down together. And see what kind of landscape they'll all create in symphony. They each have their own area. They each are surrounded by an aura of their own pattern. Their own pattern of the cubes, the craters, and the snakeskin. And then the three large patterns I have are right here. I'll give you a nice up-close look of those. And some clattering, of course. Recently went on a trip to Julian, which you may or may not be familiar with. It's a tiny mountain town in Southern California. It's so beautiful out there. first vacation, and I think he had a great time. I went on this dog-friendly trail that was an open pasture for cows. So it was a 7-mile loop trail that went through beautiful rolling green hills of grasses that cows were freely grazing on. And for the first couple hours of the walk, there were no cows to be seen, and I was feeling quite discouraged. I had really hoped, from the reviews I had seen of the hike, people saying they had spotted cows. I was really hopeful. And it was so worth it when I finally turned a corner and did see them, because it was a family with a couple of babies. There was like a butterscotch colored adult and a white adult, and then 2 babies. I think one was white and one was the butterscotch color. And the adults seemed completely uninterested in my presence, but the baby seemed curious. The baby was staring over at me and Eddie. Eddie seemed scared. He didn't know what to make of them. I wonder if he thought that they were dogs or something else. I think he knew they were something else, because he always pulls really hard to try to go play with dogs, and he was not trying to pull to get closer to them. He was feeling intrigued, but also wary. Too wary to want to try to play with them. Alright, let's bench these ones for now. Let's see what we can do with these. That's gorgeous. I love these wavy ridges and the way that they come to a point there and then all spiral out from that point. It's beautiful. And then this one, its surface looks like bubbles, but it creates craters. Whereas this one's surface looks like craters, but creates bubbles. This one creates pebbles or cobblestones. It looks like an old-fashioned, like, cobblestone street, I think. The main thing to do in Julian is to get some pie. There's lots of different diners that offer their own take on a classic Julian pie, but the most famous is Julian Pie Company. When I was waiting in line, there was an old man who was waiting in line with his wife, and he saw me looking at the menu with all the different flavors, trying to decide which to get. And he winked at me and he said, "Mountain berry apple." And I took his word for it, and I'm so glad I did. It was amazing. It had a few different types of berries in it, and apple slices, with a crispy, crunchy, golden brown crumble on top. And I got it with vanilla ice cream, of course. You could get it with vanilla or cinnamon ice cream. was amazing with the apple pie. And right next door to the pie shop was a barbecue restaurant. And I spotted a cat, an outdoor cat, living underneath the barbecue restaurant. She peeked out to say hi. And I think she might have had a bit of some type of dwarfism or something. Her legs were quite stubby. Just really, really cute. I walked around the cemetery. It was beautiful. It was so peaceful. There were daffodils everywhere. Julian is apparently somewhat known for its daffodils. And now that it's nearly springtime, I think. I'm not sure when spring officially starts. But the dandelions were blooming in full force. Or, sorry, not dandelions, daffodils. I absolutely love daffodils. I think they're so gorgeous. I remember a craft activity in elementary school being making daffodils out of yellow and green construction paper. It was so much fun. A daffodil, just a single one, sprouted in my front yard last week. I have no idea how it got planted. I was so excited about it, I ran over to go look at it when I was taking Eddie out for a walk. And he followed me to, wanted to go see what I was so excited about. And he stomped right on it, kind of crushed it. I was so sad. But thankfully, it had mostly sprung back to life, back upright by the next morning. Surface in the cobblestone texture. Result. Okay, what do you think? Let's rate the cobblestone design 1 through 10. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? 1 through 10. I'd give the cobblestones a 7. I like them quite a lot. Now let's shake it away, shake it away. Good. Next, let's try out the rainbow swirl pattern. that the sand grains are able to form such a pointed shape. Then there's the crater one. I like that they decided to have some flat areas, some smooth, empty space, and the variation between the larger craters and the smaller, little detailed ones. I think it creates a nice, organic sort of effect. Some space for the eye to rest between the details. I'd give this design a 9, but these little darker flecks that have ended up in my sand I think they must be bits of paint that have chipped off from letting the rocks clack together. Oh well, it's well worth it for that lovely sound. Alright, the last one that I'd like to see the design all on its own. I guess we did already, but let's do it again, just to be thorough. It's the snake one. Subtle compared to some of the other ones. If you were to imagine yourself relaxing on a fantasy beach that can look any way you want, what color would you make the sand? Like you could have a beach with pink sand, shimmering golden or silver sand, rainbow sand, this shade of green, this shade of brick red, rainbow swirls of sand, a light blue, and you can pick whatever color you like for the ocean waves as well. I think that a pink sand beach would look beautiful with bright blue water, or maybe soft purple lavender water with silvery foam. In your imagination, you can have whatever colors you like in the environment around you. What do you like to imagine when you're trying to fall asleep? Is there any particular cozy, safe place that you most like to picture? I like to imagine being a sleepy house cat, falling asleep on the lap of my owner while they're reading. Or I like to imagine that I'm Kiki from Kiki's Delivery Service, and I've fallen into the hay in the back of that truck in that scene where it's raining. She falls asleep all cozy and warm, nestled in layers and layers of hay with her cat. rages outside. I don't know what it is that's so cozy about being safe and warm inside while it's stormy outside, but it's such a lovely feeling. When I was staying in Julian, I stayed in an Airbnb that was sort of like a cabin, very much up in the mountains. It was a pretty treacherous drive to get up there, but it was well worth it. The place, the pictures on Airbnb really didn't do it justice. It was so much more striking in person. One of those homes with interesting architecture, like wooden beams overhead on the ceiling and stuff like that. With an amazing view of the mountains and all of the windy mountain roads leading to different little homes scattered across the hillsides. It had so many balconies and a breakfast nook with big windows. And from the breakfast nook, I loved to sit there for ages and watch the cars go by, slowly winding back and forth on the windy roads, heading to their homes. And Julian is a dark sky community, so it's very important you turn off all your lights at night so that the local astronomers can have the clearest possible view of the night sky. It was too cloudy for the most part while I was there, but it was still a somewhat better view of the stars than I'm used to. Same Airbnb in the autumn because they had lots of apple trees throughout their yard, and the apples had already fallen off the trees and were all rotten, but I'm sure a few months ago it would have been great fun to pluck them off the trees and eat them fresh. I saw lots of deer and turkeys, rabbits, the kitty. Oh, and I'm not sure what type of bird it was, but there were these bright blue birds with also a bit of orange on their wings. They were so gorgeous. I'm not used to seeing those. Every time I spotted one, I was so excited because blue is such a striking color that I feel like you don't often get to see in nature. I guess the ocean and the sky, of course, but in animals it's somewhat rare in animals and plants. So it's very exciting when you do get to spot it. Interesting that they said that the sites in Julian of ancient Native American villages are not usually ever marked by any sort of signage because amateur hobbyist archaeologists of sorts will take it upon themselves to just go dig, and whatever artifacts they find, like arrowheads, fossils, anything of interest, they don't contribute it to, worthwhile research. They just kind of keep it to themselves as an exciting trophy or sell it. So historians don't mark the sites, but this book mentioned that sometimes you can tell when you've stumbled upon a site, because you might see deep holes worn into the rocks, like into boulders, because that's where they would grind acorns into paste. Acorns were the main staple of their diet, which is hard to imagine, but that's how you know that you might be standing where a Native American village used to be, is by the holes in the boulders where they used to painstakingly grind acorns and spices and things. Seeds, acorns and other types of seeds. And the deeper holes were for soaking the acorns in water to remove the tannic acid that makes them taste bitter. And the shallower holes were for the grinding down to finer dust. I know it's supposed to be all about the sand, and that sound is lovely and relaxing, of course, but I almost prefer this clattering noise. I hope you like it too, so you're not bothered that I'm spending so much of the video doing that. Very downhill hiking. And then the way back up, of course, is 3 miles of quite difficult, extremely uphill hiking. And he said he's on the older side and didn't pack enough water. So he was very grateful for the fact that there's a sign-in sheet when you start the hike, so that the ranger knew to go look for him on his way back up when he was having trouble, to get him water and help him on his way back. And I wasn't feeling too great that day, so I thought, okay, maybe a less strenuous hike. I ended up doing the one with the cows, and that was perfect. It was long, but it was nice and flat for the most part. And it even had a river with a cute bridge going across it. close enough to a waterfall for my liking. ASMR trigger sounds has always been the sound of somebody rummaging through their purse or a drawer looking for something. And this clattering noise reminds me of that somewhat. Just some random clicking, clattering sounds of objects meeting one another. It's really nice. I was trying to think if Julian had a town ghost or like a local folklore cryptid. What would it be? And I thought of like a mountain berry monster that leaves droplets of dark red berry juice behind it. So if you see droplets of like blood red berry juice, you know that the mountain berry monster is lurking, has been afoot. Or maybe the ghost of a scorned gold miner. I mentioned those ideas to my boyfriend and he suggested like a Bigfoot, but what if Bigfoot was really little? So you'd see like barefoot footprints in the ground and you'd just be like, who was letting their baby run around in the dirt? But instead of Bigfoot, it's, you know, babyfoot. Babyfoot lurking in the woods. I liked that idea a lot. Please let me know if you can think of like a cryptid that you would make up for your local town that you live in. If your town had a cryptid, what would it be? Okay, let's change to the other three. Does it sound any different? Let me know. something else funny that happened in Julian was as I was walking down the main street, I overheard two shopkeepers having a conversation, and one of them was saying to the other, "You've got to work on his sandwich making with him. I've still been getting complaints. The bread is sliced too thin and he skimps on the cheese." I thought that was so funny. I felt so bad for whoever they were talking about, though. I would be incredibly crushed to receive such feedback about my sandwich making. But it just felt so fitting that these old locals who live in the mountains, I'm just picturing these bearded old men who are, quite particular about how a sandwich ought to be made. And I just like that. The new guy was beefing it in the sandwich department. But I'm sure he will get the hang of it in no time. He just needs the feedback, but he'll improve. There's so many cute little shops all along the street, the main street, selling jams and jellies, honey, pine, apple cider, caramel apples, every sort of apple product you could imagine, really. I can't wait to go back in the fall, go apple picking, and see all the trees, orange and red and yellow. I was on a hike that there was a sign that said that the trail closes at sundown, and I had my car parked in the trail parking lot. That I knew that what that sign meant was that at sundown a ranger was gonna come lock up the gate, so I wouldn't be able to drive my car out from the parking lot if the gate was locked up. So I was calling it sort of close, but the sun hadn't gone down yet. But I was at the start of the trail, and I had hiked up to the top of a hill. And from the top of the hill, I saw the ranger pull in, and I was so scared he was going to lock up the gate early that I sprinted all the way down the hill, only to discover he was just chilling in his car, eating chips, patiently waiting for the sun to actually go down before he locked the gate. But I was so scared. I was like, oh, I don't know, that's never happened to me before, so I don't know what would happen in that situation. I guess he'd probably see my car, and if he's nice, maybe try to wait for me. I had a friend who once stayed on a trail post-closing time, and he said that the ranger pulled out a megaphone and started yelling at him over the megaphone to get back to his car and leave. So something like that, probably. sounds and visuals with me. I had so much fun playing with this stuff, so I really hope that it has helped you to feel more at ease, sleepy, and relaxed, and such. Thank you so